Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking something that usually lives totally in the realm of abstract physics, and we're dragging it right into the practical, everyday world of the salon. We're going to completely demystify electricity. We'll look at how we can handle it safely, and more importantly, how we can actually harness it for some truly advanced aesthetic treatments.
Okay, let's dive right in by asking you to just think about your morning for a second. From the literal second your alarm clock went off, to plugging in your phone, to taking a hot shower, assuming you've got an electric water heater, how completely reliant are we on this invisible force? It runs constantly in the background of our lives. But you know, when you step into a professional salon environment, that invisible force isn't just in the background anymore. It is the primary tool we use to transform and treat the skin.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're starting with the basics of electrical theory, then covering equipment and safety guidelines, and handling electrical emergencies. After that, we'll get into the really fascinating stuff, electrotherapy modalities explained, and finally, the power of light energy.
Let's start right at the foundation with Section 1, Basics of Electrical Theory. Before we can start using this wild, flowing energy safely, we need to define exactly what it actually is. Let's break down the two fundamental types of electric current. First up, we have direct current, or DC. Think of this as a one-way street. It has a constant, even flow that travels in just one direction, and it's typically produced by chemical means, like the battery sitting inside your smartphone. Then, on the flip side, we have alternating current, or AC. This is a rapid, interrupted flow that travels back and forth in two directions, and it's produced by mechanical means. This is that heavy-duty current coming right out of your wall outlet to power something like a blow dryer.
To visualize this, and I absolutely love this analogy, picture a simple garden hose. When you hear the word volt, I want you to think of the water pressure. It's the force actually pushing the current forward. If the water is barely trickling out, well, that's low voltage. If it's blasting out, that's high voltage. Now think about the ampere, or amp. That represents the actual amount of water flowing through the hose. So you can have high pressure but a tiny little stream of water, or you can have low pressure with a massive volume of water. Grasping this difference is totally key to understanding how our electrical tools are calibrated.
Beyond volts and amps, there are a few other vital measurements you really need to know. A milliampere is simply 1,000th of an ampere, which is a crucial detail because the currents we use in facial treatments are so incredibly delicate. They have to be measured in milliamps. Then there's an ohm, which measures the resistance of an electric current. Think of it like a kink in that garden hose we just talked about. And finally, watts and kilowatts. Measure how much electrical energy is being used in one single second. Getting a handle on these units is your first real step to harnessing electricity safely.
Which brings us directly to Section 2, Equipment and Safety Guidelines. Let's shift from the theory into practice and look at the physical, protective leashes we put on this crazy, powerful energy.
The really crucial distinction here is understanding the difference between a facility-wide defense and a localized defense. A standard circuit breaker is designed to monitor the entire circuit and just break the connection if way too much current flows through. It's there to prevent a massive overload or a fire. But then you have a ground fault interrupter, or a GFI. These are absolutely required anywhere near water. A GFI senses even the tiniest little imbalance in the current and cuts the power instantly, right at the outlet. It's your immediate, on-the-spot defense system.
Let's talk about how this safety is built right into our everyday tools. Keep an eye out for the UL symbol. It stands for Underwriters Laboratories. Actually, after this explainer, go check your own favorite gadgets. If they have this UL symbol, it's a guarantee that the equipment has been rigorously tested and certified for safe use. Honestly, if it doesn't have it, you really shouldn't be plugging it in anywhere near a client.
All right, let's run through the essential, everyday safety habits you need in any salon setting. You absolutely must read instructions, consistently maintain your cords to make sure there's no fraying, and never ever leave a client unattended with an active electrical device. But the biggest takeaway here, the absolute golden rule of electrical safety, is to avoid the combination of metal and water. Water is an insanely good conductor of electricity, and mixing in active current, water, and metal tools, that is just a recipe for absolute disaster.
But look, even with the absolute best protocols in place, accidents happen. And that brings us to Section 3, Handling Electrical Emergencies. Let's talk about exactly what to do when those safety measures fail.
Picture this scenario. A plugged-in blow dryer falls into a sink completely full of water. We've all seen this movie trope, right? But in real life, step 1, and I literally cannot stress this enough, do not reach into the water to grab the appliance. Human instinct screams at us to grab it, but that water is fully electrified. Instead, you need to jump straight to step 2, run directly to your circuit breaker and kill the power to that entire room. Only after you are 100% sure the power is dead at the source should you even attempt to unplug the device.
If someone actually does get a shock, how do you know when it's a true emergency? Most light shocks will just give you a jump scare, but you absolutely must seek professional medical evaluation immediately if the person shocked is pregnant, if there are any visible skin burns at all, no matter how tiny they seem, or if their tetanus shots aren't up to date. Whatever you do, don't play doctor. Get them to a real one.
Now, let's totally pivot. We're moving from the hazards of electricity to the incredible ways we intentionally control it for beauty and wellness. Section 4. Electrotherapy Modalities Explained.
Notice the complete physiological contrast between a positive and negative electrical pole when using galvanic current. When we use the positive anode, it produces an acidic reaction that actively closes the pores, decreases the blood supply, and soothes the nerves. But if we flip the switch and use the negative cathode, we get the exact opposite effect. It opens up the pores, increases the blood supply, and stimulates the nerves. We are literally commanding the body's tissues to open or close just by using controlled electrical polarity. It's amazing.
So here's what that actually looks like in practice. When a practitioner uses a roller electrode over a client's masked face, this process is called iontophoresis. By using those positive or negative poles we just talked about, the practitioner can actually push water-soluble skincare products incredibly deep into the skin. I mean, way deeper than you ever could by just rubbing lotion on with your hands.
Galvanic definitely isn't the only tool in the box, though. We also have microcurrent, which mimics the body's own natural electrical impulses to firm, tone, and heal inflamed tissue. Think of it as a deep tissue workout, but for your face. Alongside it, you have the Tesla high-frequency current. Now, unlike galvanic, Tesla current doesn't cause any muscle contractions. It relies entirely on rapid vibrations. It stimulates circulation, boosts skin metabolism, and has this incredibly powerful germicidal action that makes it absolutely fantastic for treating acne.
When you see a glowing glass electrode being applied during a Tesla high-frequency treatment, it honestly looks like a neon wand from a sci-fi movie, right? But that impressive glow is just perfectly controlled electricity doing its job. The second that glowing glass touches the skin, it uses that high-frequency vibration to kill germs and relieve congestion. It's a prime example of safely controlled electricity working absolute cosmetic magic. But electricity isn't just about currents passing through wires or glass electrodes. Let's transition to our fifth and final realm, the power of light energy.
To really understand light therapy, we first have to understand where light actually comes from. The electromagnetic spectrum represents the entire range of electromagnetic radiation in the universe. On one far end, you have these huge, long waves coming from power lines and radios. And on the totally opposite extreme end, you have tiny, dangerous, ionizing gamma rays. Every single type of light we use in the salon exists somewhere on this massive spectrum.
Visualizing our tiny slice of that spectrum reveals something super fascinating. When a prism splits light, you realize that the visible light we can actually see with our human eyes, the colors of the rainbow, is just a tiny sliver of reality. Sandwiched right on the edges of what we can see are two incredibly powerful invisible forces: infrared rays, which have longer wavelengths and penetrate deeply, and ultraviolet rays, which have shorter wavelengths and less penetration.
When we compare these two invisible lights side by side, we see totally different aesthetic applications. Ultraviolet light, specifically UVA and UVB, is super common in salons for curing nail polishes quickly, though we all know it requires some serious caution due to sun damage risks. Infrared light, however, is a longer wave that penetrates way down deep into the tissue. Because of that deep penetration, it is actively used to diminish the signs of aging, heal wounds, increase circulation, and just deeply relax and warm up muscle tissues.
And here is what harnessing that invisible energy looks like in the real world. When a client undergoes a red light and infrared therapy session, they'll wear protective goggles while a machine bathes their skin in highly specific, controlled wavelengths of light. It's totally painless, it's non-invasive, but down at a cellular level, that light energy is actively stimulating the skin to heal and diminishing aging right before our eyes.
Which brings us to a final thought.
The salon is so often viewed as a place of just simple, superficial pampering. But after understanding the sheer force of alternating currents, the localized protection of a GFI, the literal cellular manipulation of a negative electrode, and the restorative power of the electromagnetic spectrum, well, the next time you sit in that chair, will you just see a beauty treatment, or will you recognize the perfectly controlled, invisible power of physics at work? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me, and stay curious.